Elder always finds the best title. Says living with mommy's boy. A young lady I shared this file. She just sent me some smiles, and I knew what the smiles meant. Elder, what are these women going through living with mommy's boys? What's the story on the ground?
Well, I mean, whenever you sit with a wife who raises a concern about the undue influence or presence of their mother-in-law in their everyday situation, it leads me thinking, what can we do as a society, as a community, as church, as a country, to support such women to understand that the mother whose son you're married to is not an outsider to the marriage. She is described as mother-in-law, which technically means a relative who is a mother by means of marriage. So a mother-in-law, to start with, is not an outsider. And a mother whose son you're married to must not be seen as a hostile entity to you. Sadly, there are too many individuals who have hostility that exists between them and their mother-in-law. So it does not even give them the opportunity to benefit from the relationship with the mother-in-law. And you would also find that it begins to affect the relationship between the wife and the husband as well. Because once I have grumbling towards your mother and you appear not to be responding in the way I want, I pitch camp against you and your mom. And that is not healthy, it's not helpful. We need to appreciate the mothers. And if you know the attachment that exists between unborn fetuses and the mother, she's incubated this child for, if it's full-term pregnancy, 9 months. So when the child is born, the child is actually thrusted into the arms of the mother. Why do they do that? There's an attachment there. The child suckles the mom. If it's breastfeeding, some do like 2 years breastfeeding. I know a mother who did 2 years.
I know one who like 4 years cried the son.
Oh yeah,
son
and
still.
And then 4 years. that's
have you seen the video of the young boy who was sucking the breast, one breast, and was holding a drink? No, it was actually a biscuit. So he sucks small, then bites a biscuit small. Strategic young boy.
There's something about breast and boys, breast and men. So maybe later we'll talk. Father's Day we'll talk about breast and men.
All of a sudden, the young men here are very quiet. I don't know why.
They are
Steve,
pretending
good morning.
not to have
I know.
Steve
is all of a sudden like his face is
so it's important that, especially in a month which is also Mental Health Month, it's a month in which we also celebrate mothers. And I commend you for what you're doing for a whole month, focusing on motherhood and women and all that goes with mothering, essentially. I pray that we would be able to do more of these things month in, month out for different clusters of our community. Now, many mothers have issues not with the the daughter-in-law, but with their sons. Now, I have identified at least 7 kinds of sons who potentially can have an issue in their marriage.
Okay.
The first one is a son who is the first son. The mothers call them PSA. They're the son of their strength. And when you read Proverbs 31, you see how the mother evokes a lot of things. Son of my vow, son of my strength, son of this, son of that. And in Proverbs 31, you see that. A lot of people read it, and they don't realize it's a mother actually talking to her son. Because the son is Lemuel, and it was a story that the mother told him, or parable, a fable that the mother told him. And that's what we read in Proverbs 31. And in the verse 10, the mother begins to tell her son what kind of a wife he must marry. if he were to be living in our time, he will be called mommy's boy, because mommy is telling you who to marry. Mommy is getting too interested. Don't drink wine. Don't do this. Don't give your strength to women. It's like she's becoming a handful. But you see, you need to understand the bond between a mother and the son to be able to appreciate why this Proverbs 31 woman is doing what she did. The second one is a husband who is the only son. He was born alone. He has no other sibling. Now, for as long as that young man lives, the mother will be attached to him through no fault of hers, because that's all she has. That's all she knows. The other one is an only son among girls, especially if he is the kind of son who arrived full of expectation of the parents. The parents were expectant. They've had maybe 2 girls or 3 girls, and he becomes the only son. Or he was the second child and was a son. After him are 2 girls or 3 girls. That son is precious to the mom. And it will be difficult for the mother to just let go. The scripture says something. It says, if even a mother forgets the love she has for her child. If even. That means it's very difficult for a mother to forget the love she has for her child. Now, the other one I wrote here is the last son. He is a last son. Those people, their mothers don't joke with them. Their mothers don't joke with them. And so if you're married to one who is the last son to a mother, please, you must navigate smoothly and seamlessly with your relationship regarding the mother. Now, also a son with a special need. And this special need the spectrum of special need is wide.
Very.
Very broad. So I won't go into the specifics of special need. But a son who has special need is precious to a mother. Also, a son born in old age, my retirement son. Those sons, mothers are very passionate about them. So if you're a lady out there, these 6 sons that I've mentioned, if you have one, please draw closest to your mother-in-law.
Okay.
Don't pitch camp against her, because it would inure to your benefit. And all through scripture, you would see how mothers...
Okay, Elder, I'm just getting a message. We need to adjust your mic a little bit. So, Steve, can we... or Elder, if you can maybe draw a little closer.
I should go forward, maybe.
Yes. Because the person said, topic we hear me pa. And I actually missed this for 7 minutes. So it's kindly adjust Elder's
Oh, sorry
mic.
about that.
Okay, all right.
Now, so these 7 sons, whenever they are married to wives need to pay attention to these sons. You need to build a good relationship with your mother-in-law. And you are better off, if you have concerns, to work through your husband rather than dealing directly with your mother-in-law, because that potentially can be conflicting.
Okay.
Now, all through scripture, you see how mothers were very attached to their sons. Let's start with Exodus. Now, when you go into the book of Exodus, in Exodus chapter 2, there is Jochebed and her son Moses. You see the extent to which the mother put herself in harm's way just to protect her son. And when you read Hebrews, there is a commendation in Hebrews 11 for the parents' faith, because they saw that Moses was a peculiar child. In some translations, say he was a beautiful son. When a son is described as beautiful, you know that he's really cut out with gold. So please help us with that reading. This is the first 3 verses.
So from chapter 2.
2, yes.
All right. It says, now a man from the family of Levi married a Levite woman. The woman became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was beautiful, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could no longer hide him, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with asphalt and pitch. She placed the child in it and set it among the reeds by the bank of the Nile.
So we can pause there.
Okay.
This is a mother, brings forth a son, and the son is a special child.
Beautiful
Child. So she had to take remedial measures to protect him, because first sons were being killed. And she had kept him for 3 months. Now she can't anymore. What does she do? She still can't throw the child out. She has to still protect the son. Get the big sister to actually do recce around until Potiphar's daughter, Pharaoh's daughter, comes and take this boy. But when the boy is of age, he remembered the root he had come from, because the mother put something in him. So imagine that you go and marry this son whose mother had taken such a dire move to protect him from danger and from harm's way. The mother is not going to let go of the son just like that, simply because you are the princess who just arrived in town. No. You must ask God for wisdom to help you to appreciate the mother for taking such extra effort, such risk to be able to protect the son. Again, I'll point you to another woman called Rizpah. Rizpah is one of my favorite Bible characters when it comes to women. She was a concubine of Saul. She was a woman who lost her sons, a widow, a grieving mother, who was also raped. Oftentimes people talk about Amnon and Tamar, but Rizpah was actually raped. A woman who already was in a place of vulnerability and had been put in a very precarious situation, lost her 2 sons. She never gave up. You can read her story in 2 Samuel chapter 21. Rizpah, I just want you to focus on verse 10 and to 14.
2 Samuel
21.
2 Samuel 21. Okay.
Verse
Getting
10
there
to
right now.
14.
2 Samuel 21, 10 to 14. Okay, Rizpah, Aiah's daughter, took sackcloth and spread it out for herself on the rock from the beginning of the harvest until the rain poured down from heaven on the bodies. She kept the birds of the sky from them by day and the wild animals by night. When it was reported to David what Saul's concubine Rizpah, daughter of Aiah, had done, he went and got the bones of Saul and his son Jonathan from the citizens of Jabesh Gilead. They had stolen them from the public square of Bethshan, where the Philistines had hung the bodies the day the Philistines killed Saul at Gilboa. David had the bones brought from there. They gathered up the bones of Saul's family, who had been hanged, and buried the bones of Saul and his son Jonathan at Zillah, in the land of Benjamin, in the tomb of Saul's father Kish. They did everything the king commanded. After this, God was receptive to prayer for the land.
Now, look at it. They had had famine for 3 years. Rizpah's son had been laid in the open space. Ravens and other birds were about to feast on these dead bodies. Rizpah never gave up on her sons. She took sackcloth, driving the birds away. Whoo! And everybody, she's like a spectacle. There's a mother who is grieving, a mother who had been raped, a mother who is in a place of vulnerability. A mother will never give up, even when her son is ruled as a failure. If the son is broken, shattered, destroyed. So a mother seeing the daughter-in-law projecting her son not in good light, will fight. She'll fight like a wounded lioness. She'll fight like a mother hen whose chicks have been threatened by a strange fellow. And so when you see your mother-in-law fight for her son. Please be wise. Don't fight her. Many a time she's carrying a lot of pain, hurt, weights, burdens that you have no clue. You know, these mothers of these sons, they give their everything. If it means mocking them, they will be willing and ready to be mocked. But you see, these boys were dead, but their mother never gave up on them. That's the fighting spirit of mothers. So if you're a woman married to a man who appears to have a lot of moral issues, difficulty with finance, job, and all those things, your lot is not to fight him. If you fight him, his mother will go alongside him to protect him. Now, the third one I'll talk about is Jesus Christ and his mother. When you read John 19:25 to 29, you see Jesus. These were the dying moments of Jesus. Just his clothes had been torn and it was being mortgaged through ballot. And he hangs there. He looks at John and he sees three women. His mother Mary, his auntie incidentally was also Mary, married to Clopas, and Mary Magdalene, three Marys standing. And he says to John, John, son, your mother, woman, your son. Even on the cross, he never forgot his mother. And he had to hand his mother over to be catered for by another. So mothers never, even at the point where their son is hopeless, is considered no use, the mother will still stick and stay with her son. And so if you're a wife out there and you have such a husband, please and please and please hear me. Don't go after the mom. His mom is innocent. It is her passion and the attachment she has that keeps her next to the cross. You can read about many of them. You can talk about someone like Timothy. When you read about Timothy, you discover that in Acts chapter 16, Paul was told that there is a disciple called Timothy. Many people create the impression it was Paul who exclusively groomed Timothy, but it's not true. When you read the scriptures, and you want to be applying fidelity to the scripture and what it means, look at 2 Timothy chapter 3 verse 14. Paul says that Timothy had known the scriptures from his infancy. In his infancy, where was Paul? Paul was not there. And so when he comes in chapter 2 verse chapter 1 verse 5, and he says that you have known the scriptures, and I see that the faith that was in your grandmother Lois, which was in your mother Eunice, is evident in you. He's talking about this. That's why in 2 Timothy chapter 3 verse 14, Paul testifies that from your infancy you have known the scriptures. And he admonishes Timothy to hold on to it. And who were the ones who taught him the scripture? The mother. You know, I was just watching the 2015 Vodafone advert. Vodafone to Ghana promotion. There was a mother who called the daughter-in-law and was telling the daughter-in-law a few things, how to tie the knot of the husband and put it in the middle.
A lot of things.
A lot of things. And the mother was coaching the daughter-in-law. Yes. I like the daughter-in-law's response. And I think if you haven't seen that video, go look it up online. The daughter-in-law's response to the mother-in-law was not rancor, was not acrimonious. She was receptive and responsive to the mother-in-law's guidance. I want to encourage every woman who has any of the 6 sons I mentioned to work with your mother-in-law, not work against her, because she's toiled, she has sacrificed. I can imagine you and your son, then your son marries and forgets you. Some young ladies, when you marry them, they say, leave your mother out. No, how can he abandon his mother, who toiled all these years and raised him to the place where you now are relating with him as husband, and you want him suddenly to abandon his mother? No. My call this morning is not that mother-in-laws should be overly intrusive. My call is that we should learn to live with mommy's son. And living with mommy's son, look, many years ago in 1900s, Sigmund Freud came up with this mommy's son thing, and a few psychologists raised it, but at the time it was used for mockery. These were men who couldn't stand on their feet, who were men who were always overly dependent on mom, always going to mom for advice, counsel, and support. And so this mommy's son or mommy's boy thing came, and it was used as a mockery. But today, interestingly, the same terminology is used to show boys and men and sons who appreciate the value of mother, who appreciate the place of mother, who celebrate the sacrifice of mother. So when now you say mommy's boy, it's not a cynical commentary. It's actually an affirmation of a man who is not afraid to celebrate his mother. So the ladies out there, if you call your husband mommy's boy, don't think it's cynical. It's not an affirmation, which is praiseworthy. And on the sunny FM where the sun shines and never goes out, and there's positive soul music, let us be positive.
Yeah.
Let us, you know, a lot of people, when they saw the topic, they thought it's time to bash mothers.
Yeah.
No, we bash mothers too often. We're too quick to drift into bashing. We are building a society where we are overly pessimistic, we are overly cynical and sarcastic with our tones. I want us to celebrate the mothers who are raising these sons, who have turned them into the boys and the men you are marrying. That's the best gift you can give them in this month.
I'm seeing messages here. Reverend Rebecca is watching, says, yes, a mother will never give up on her children. She mentioned grandma, says, yes, grandma Lois to Eunice, then to Timothy, says psychology. And mommy is listening, says, oh, she says she actually saw her nephew do that. You suck a little and then bite into his biscuits like tea and cookies. Says mothers can be really fierce, just like you have biggest lioness. She can be something fierce. She says she has a question.
Yes.
As a mother whose son fits the first three profiles you read, how can I be good to his wife in this respect when she comes? I don't think he's tied to my apron strings though, but there's a safety in the multitude of counselors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's a wonderful question. What you need to do first and foremost to let your son know that he's getting married to another woman who potentially would also be a mother, and therefore he must do to others what he would wish done to him. He must not sacrifice both of you for the other. He is able to keep an equilibrium where he would apply Proverbs 11 verse 1. A false balance is an abomination unto the Lord. So be a husband to your wife, and learn to be a wife, a mother, a son to your mother. Now, for you as a mother, what you want to do also is to have conversations with your daughter-in-law to try and understand where she is in terms of her relationship with you. If she has concerns, get her to verbalize those concerns rather than internalizing those concerns. Now, when those concerns are raised, give it hearing and take action. Whenever there is an issue between your son and your daughter-in-law, do not come across as being in a hurry to exonerate your son, because there's a temptation, that attachment. So many a wife will not want to sit with mother-in-law to mediate matters, because they know that mother-in-law will not speak for the son. You know, but I want to encourage us. They are a safe net to have, safety space to enjoy, if only we know how to relate with them. Understand that she may have sometimes the tendency to go overboard or show excesses, and be liberal to forgive her and let things slide, because you've been in her space before as a young mother yourself, before now that you are an older mother. So these thoughts may be helpful for you in particular.
Thank you very much, Elder. This is Sunny 88.7 FM. We've been speaking with Elder Amos KEVIN-ANNAN. I see Mami is doing a typing there. If you also have a question or you want to contribute to this, 0540-130-684. That is 0540-130-684. I think when we're about wrapping up, I'll let Elder just say a prayer for wives out there who have been in this prayer for a while and have been confused. And today, I think your word has brought peace into the heart of any wife who is feeling turmoil concerning the situation they're in. And I have a voice note that is coming through.
Good morning, JJD. Good morning, Elder. I have a question. So I am just thinking. I can identify myself in one of the 6, and also as I now, God has blessed me with a son who fits about 3 of the descriptions given so far, because he's the first, he's an only child as at now, and also the last son. And I'm just thinking, as a mother, how can is there a way that I as a mother can train myself, not train, more like prepare myself for that season, so that I would be a better mother-in-law? Because I know I've had challenges, I still struggle every now and then, and I just want to find out, is there a way as mothers we can prepare ourselves to not be overbearing or intrusive in our children's marriages, so that by the time my child gets there, I've also taken the necessary steps and measures to make sure that I am accepting and receptive of my daughter-in-law. It's something I've always dreamed of, and so I want to know if Elder has any pointers for a mother so that you can prepare yourself to be a better mother-in-law to your son, who you don't have any control over his position, and makes you attached and affectionate of him as your child. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your voice note this morning. I see this is the first time we're hearing from you right here on Sunny FM. Elder.
Yes, I want to quickly recommend these 2 books. There are quite a number of books. It was very interesting. I have 6 women's Bibles at home, and a collection of writings about women, because I'm a man, so I don't need to read about men. But these 2 books, this by Steve Atterburn and Fred Stoker, Preparing Your Son for Every Man's Battle. It's a great resource. Please go to Challenge Bookshop. If you have a son, get it. This one is Moms Raising Sons to Be Men, written by Rhoda Stope. Now, I like it because it's written by a woman who herself has raised sons. Her sons are there. And she shares some insights for mothers on how they can learn to attach and detach.
Okay.
Because that skill is crucial. Learn to attach and learn to detach. Whitley says that parenting has a priority in 2 areas. First, giving your child roots of responsibility and the wings of independence. So as a mother, you must give your son space to be a man, space to be a husband. Then also, you must give him the wings to fly away independently of you. Otherwise, he will never grow up. And whilst the concept of man up is not often good, man up in some regards are very good calls. Show yourself a man. Paul says, when I was a child, I spoke like a child, I behaved like a child, I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. So, in order that your son is not described by his wife as being childish, rather he should be described as childlike. Because when a man is childlike, he's tender, he's trustworthy. You can trust children, they will never tell a lie. They are also tender because they have vulnerability. What we need today is to tell our sons to move away from this tough, rough ride that they have. So many of them are just using brawn to fight off stuff. And their wives are struggling to live with them. They show this macho, they are not vulnerable. And when they don't open up to their wives, they are craving for mothers' conversations, which they didn't get. And they don't find that as well. So what do? They open up to strange women. And it's happening all over the place. Now, if you can open up to a strange woman, why can't you open up to your wife? And so we need to encourage our sons. Mother, encourage your son. When he has weakness, when he has any failings, he should not see it as fatal. He should see it as a transition, temporary setback. He can rebound. When he's going through a struggle, at the age where he finds himself, there will be support systems that he can tap into. We need to help our young men in this regard. Otherwise, many of them would break down. I mean, there are people who are living with their mother-in-laws, for instance, and they're struggling to contain them because they are always fighting. They are always angry. The question is this: what are the thoughts that you have about your mother-in-law? You see, it's the thoughts that you have in your head that shows in your feelings towards them. If you review your thoughts and upgrade and update your thoughts, you would upgrade and update your emotions. Because your emotions and your thoughts will gang up and show in your behavior.
This one says, good morning, Sonny. I feel like I'm married to a man who never got the chance to grow up independently. Sometimes it gets frustrating. How can I continue coping?
Don't keep making references that he must grow up. Don't keep making references that he's codependent on the mother or too attached to the mother. Because, see, that's the safe net he has. If you threaten that safe net, he's going to fight it off. So he will dismiss your interventions, however well-intended that they may be. You need to find space to sit with him, to have an adult conversation. Adult conversations are not scolding. They're not screaming, they are not yelling. You are not talking on top of your voice. It is creating a space for him to know that he is affirmed as a man, but you want to understand him so that you can stand by his side and support him.
This is Sunny 88.7 FM. Elder, thank you so much for coming through this morning.
I'm delighted.
I'm happy about the voice note that came through. That was some good feedback, asking for support as well. So yes, Elder, your passing through today has made life easier it's going to make life easier for a mom who's going to be a mom-in-law. I mean, I'm going to be a mom-in-law soon. Oh my, what I say was like tomorrow. I know, Deputy just looked at me. You know, because they grow up so quick, right? Yeah, I mean, right now he's like 5. He can't wait to be old. Very soon, I guess I'll be at his wedding, and then
the mother-in-law. In a boy, there is a man in every boy, and there is a boy in every man. So you're seeing him becoming a man and taking up manhood and manly challenges. So it's good. It's good to dream.